What weird thing did somebody tell you that they shouldn't have felt so comfortable telling you? I see my mechanic like 5 times a year and he always tells me how many Asian girls he met online and had sex with since we last met. It's like an unprompted tradition he must get past before we can talk about what's wrong with the car. My 89-year-old grandfather told me his and his wife's favorite sexual position. Number 1 on the list of things I never ever needed to know. Managed a restaurant and a man was there to service the building, HVAC or something. He seems anxious and starts rattling on about his girlfriend and then her brother and how said brother fucked a cow. Immediately apologizes. I don't know why I said that. I probably shouldn't have told you that. Sorry. Me. Sits down for my lunch break at work. Random coworker comes and sits down and says to me, "So I've been watching cartoon monster porn." Dude pays me at work. Then tells me he can't come. He can have an orgasm, but then needs to use a straw to get it all out. A strange coworker, whom I wasn't ever close with, decided to tell me at work, across the entire office, that she and her husband were having marital problems due to lack of sex. He wanted more sex. But since she wasn't trying to get pregnant, she didn't see the point and said he needed to get over it. This happened loudly, out of nowhere and with no prompting. What made it more uncomfortable was that she was our person. A kid I was sort of friends with in high school told me that he regularly had sex with his twin brother. For the record, he had no history of ever being sexually abused, and from what he talked about, it was mutually suggested between the two. They were just gay and into incest. An ex-coworker, whom I barely knew, told me she was in a sexual relationship with her biological father. They had been together for about 10 years and moved to a new city together. She was only 25 or so. I politely smiled, switched topics, and went home shortly afterwards. Of course I kept that story to myself, but damn. My sister told me she was getting her tonsils out so that she would give better head. I don't know if this qualifies, but some drunk girl said I would be a nice weekday only boyfriend very casually, and that felt like a very backhanded compliment to drop on me so suddenly. Over my working life, different women coworkers have shared some pretty intimate things, having the runs, how much difficulty she had getting her BF to fuck her, explaining her dating/sexual history of the prior 7 years, with diagrams. Business partner of my then boss that had just introduced himself to me. "Nice team you've got here, we should all go on a trip to Thailand together, you can fuck prostitutes without protection over there. They all have documents from their doctors showing that they're clean." Dude was also married, with 2 young daughters. What the actual fuck? Chatting with another mom at the park. Now we can chat about some pretty weird things. Like, discussing your kids' pooping habits would be a normal conversation. Even to some extent discussing how things are going the bedroom isn't that weird. But I've had some weird things other moms have confided to me. The one that stands out was a mom who confessed she was a closeted lesbian in a loveless marriage who has a huge crush on her teenage son's girlfriend. It got even weirder too. Cashier at Street Louis Breadco informing me she's on her period and flowing very heavily. I get it, I'm a fellow woman, but damn. It's a restaurant. I seriously wouldn't mind being raped by an octopus. You know, like in anime and stuff. This was said to me by a coworker, female, while on the clock, during lunch rush, in the dining room, loud enough for costumers to hear. What triggered this confession? I mentioned in passing how much I like fried calamari. My sociology professor decades ago smoking outside of class with some of the guys as I was walking into the building me, "Is the school going to give you crap for smoking with your students?" Him, "I could be doing something else with my students, if you're interested." And he winked. EEO. Sitting with my fiance's new friend, and she starts bragging to me how she's been manipulating men including my fiancé into doing things for her. Picking up her paychecks for her, babysitting her son, while she goes on a date, cleaning her place for her etc. Then she started showing me these long messages she'd sent to guys she had just met on dating sites telling them how my fiancé was her best friend and her standard for guys. My coworker told me he fucks his ex, while choking her sometimes. Training a new hire at my old job. Guy was a bit off, but that was pretty much the standard for where we were working. Giving him a tour of the facilities, describing his job duties. He lets me know that his dad blew his brains out. By the end of my 2 years of working with him, I sympathized with his dad. That he ate out some girl with a big unwashed bush that smelled like piss. I was going to a summer cottage owned by my work. Upon hearing that, a coworker of mine informed me that his daughter was conceived there, in the very bed that I was about to sleep in. Did not need to know that, at all. Yesterday the girl I'm dating told me that she had kissed one of my friends on Saturday. I actually appreciated the fact that she was being honest and thanked her for telling me something like this before we were like officially a couple. She got mad because I didn't flip my shit. I'm not on high school anymore. I'm not gonna go beat my friend for you. I felt she wanted me to be mad and fight for her. Fuck that. Did I dodge the bullet? My coworker told me that he has had flare-ups of gonorrhea over 30 times. He has herpes and God knows what else. He said he can't remember how many times he's had a Q-tip swab in his dick hole. He doesn't believe me that I've never had unstandard and is constantly bringing it up. I don't know what compels this man to constantly talk about STDs, but he must have a forest fire going on down there. I used to work at a daycare center over the summer as an aide to an older teacher. On one occasion a mom came to pick up their kid and just started ranting about how they have marital issues cause their husband thinks they're an unfit parent, and how now they don't even fuck and stuff in front of the kids. How tight they remained after 2 C-sections, and how much their so loved it. I do not need to know that from a coworker. I just don't. Oh yes, I went through months of it. All the white stuff all over his shirt was cum. That was back in high school. A young female coworker once told me how often she masturbated, 3 times a day as you're asking. I asked a work colleague on late shift how her day had been so far, and she started telling me that her and her husband were trying for another baby, but were having trouble conceiving, complete with detail about positions used, how many times, and if she came or not, all whilst up a stepladder reducing fresh stock for the end of day. She ended the conversation by telling me she had a bit of chafing going on down there now. Kind of wish I had learned this even sooner, but immediately after moving in with my freshman year roommate who I met on Facebook was when she decided to tell me about her night terrors and that she had almost gotten expelled her senior year of high school for drug dealing. I feel like I will eventually find a comment in this thread describing something I have done and this will be how I learn my lesson not to overshare. My coworker told me in agonizing detail about her hemorrhoids after I disgustedly reported to my team that it looked like someone had farted blood mist in one of the toilets. Apparently they are so bad she sometimes bleeds through her pants. My housemate, 2 weeks after moving in, casually mentioned he had been taking my food from the fridge, as if theft was just a hobby. I'm the one who tells people too much. In fact, most days I come to hate myself even more because of the constant stupid shit I tell people. Oh, you didn't hear the gossip? I got an abortion on Monday. Dude, we've spoken to each other 3 times. And that's including the conversation about the messy child custody case you're going through. A former coworker told me about his wife's molten, shredded vagina anus after the birth of their second daughter. I very much did not need to hear about the gritty details, thanks bud. My buddy casually told me how many women with boyfriends has slept with and it just pissed me off. First conversation with the new coworker. Me, hey, what do you like to do outside of work? Him, I see a psychiatrist once a week, because I'm dealing with severe depression. When I was 13 my grandpa shot himself in the head in front of me, and it fucked me up. Me, I play video games. I worked retail and asked a lady if she needed help finding anything. She then told me all about her daughter who had an eating disorder. Like, I understand she's upset, but dude, I was very uncomfortable for about 30 minutes as I talked to her because I'm not gonna just walk away from a crying woman. But God, I wanted to. This young guy I used to work with bragged one day about having sex with our 60-plus-year-old coworker in a car outside of his house. He was the kind of guy that fucked anything, that walked and loved to brag about it, but I could tell he wasn't really proud of this one despite going on about it, and after having seen my face in disgust after telling me,